So today, everybody, we are going to play Eldritch Horror. I was just going to say Arkham Horror, and we're not playing that. We're playing Eldritch Horror. And I have decided to, since this is winter, that I want to play a couple of themed campaigns. And considering that A, it's winter, and B, I'm always freezing, I've decided to form a group of ladies fighting the cold. So basically we have 3 female investigators who will be fighting against a great old one that basically personifies the cold. His name is, or its name I should say maybe, Ithaqua. That's how I choose to pronounce his name. He's kind of a little bit like Bigfoot, you know, some kind of northern legend, possibly a little bit Native American inspired. So Ithaqua is also known as the Wind Walker. Cultists, when you lose health to them, will lead to hypothermia. Each investigator gains a hypothermia condition unless he spends 1 focus when we are in the reckoning phase, and we will see what happens then. I have chosen the following investigators: Lola Hayes, the actress, and we're just going to look at her card. So she has 5 stamina and 7 sanity. She has 4 influence, and she has the possibility of spending any number of improvement tokens and basically juggling them between her abilities, which is really awesome. And once per round, an investigator on her space may roll 1 additional die when resolving a test. She starts with a Derringer, and she also can improve 1 skill of her choice at the beginning of the game. Around the world, Lola has performed dramatic roles for in front of sold-out houses. However, after being cast in the controversial play The King in Yellow, Lola needed to take some time to recover from her exhaustion. Now that she's checked herself out of the asylum, she's ready for the big comeback. But this time she'll play a different role in the fight against the horrors that threaten this world. She started by traveling to Tokyo to track down the only other surviving cast member of her previous theatrical endeavor. So that is Lola Hayes. Next, and she will be in Tokyo, so I'm just going to put her standee into Tokyo. Next up we have Lily Chen. She starts with a lucky rabbit's foot and a protective amulet. And she has 6 stamina and 6 sanity. She is basically your combat model for strength, and her will is also quite good. She may spend any number of health or sanity and then recover an equal number of health or sanity. When you improve a skill, you may immediately improve that skill again. Very useful. Lily speaks rarely, and when she does, her words are measured and wise. After a lifetime of disciplined training, every gesture is graceful, uncluttered by hesitation. When she was an infant, an obscure sect of monks believed that she was born for a special purpose, to face a great evil. Now, the monks believe that the great evil is at hand. Well, it's definitely cold enough to say so. And they have brought Lily to Shanghai to begin fulfilling her destiny. So Lily is going to go to Shanghai. Next up, we have the redeemed cultist, Diana Stanley. She has 7 stamina and 5 sanity. She is very good at lore. If there is a cultist monster on your space, discard all monsters on your space or move the cultist monster to any other space, which is a really powerful ability. Reduce the horror of monsters you encounter to 1. When Diana was initiated into the Order of the Silver Twilight, she believed it to be nothing more than a community organization. But as she learned more of its true nature, she has become convinced that a growing evil threatens the world and that the Silver Twilight will play a role in that threat. She believes her best chance to prevent this is to use her position to sabotage the organization from within. Carl Sanford, The head of the order has recognized her skills and recently sent her to Panama for additional training. So she's basically a mole, if you like, or trying to be one. So she starts on space 7. And she has a wither spell. And she has an arcane manuscript, which is a tome. And then we have, last but not least, I have to say I absolutely love this character portrait, Zoe Samara's, and I have to say she looks like a slightly deranged Agent Dana Scully. Zoe Samara's, the chef. She has 5 stamina and 7 sanity. Her will is at 4, so that's her thing, you know, horror checks. If you have fewer than 2 task assets, gain 1 task asset, task unique asset. If you have not lost sanity during a combat encounter, roll 2 additional dice when resolving the strength test during that encounter. I mean, that is really powerful because her strength is 3 already. She starts in Rome, Italy, and she has a holy cross. She's kind of like a religious nutter, I think. When Zoe was 6 years old, her parents were killed in a fire. As the flames consumed her home, God spoke to her. Well, like I said, a religious nutter. He told Zoe that she was special and that he was giving her a special task. As an adult, she now travels from city to city, taking work as a chef to support herself. When she isn't working, she stalks the night, guided by the Lord's voice. Wherever she finds wickedness, she strikes it down without remorse or hesitation. Most recently, God has called her to Rome to dispense his righteous fury. Well, so basically these are the ladies. I've also drawn a rumour, and it's a rumour from the north. Basically, this is not a rumour, it's, It's a prelude. Preludes are quite controversial. This one will put everybody at an advantage to begin with because... each investigator may gain a hypothermia condition to gain 1 clue and 1 focus. The issue is Ithaqua gives you a hypothermia condition already at the reckoning if you don't spend a focus. So we're not going to do this. We're also not going to... we are going to change the doom, because doom for Ithaqua starts at 13, but this one advances it by 1. A chill wind makes its way down from the frozen Arctic tundra, and with it comes something much worse. Rumours of cannibalism and strange sightings on the edges of civilization are on the lips of every passer-by, even as their breath turns to a frozen mist before them. The signs all point to one thing: Ithaqua, the harbinger of endless winter, is stirring. So this is what's happening. We could choose a hypothermia condition to gain 1 clue and 1 focus. We're not going to do this because we're probably going to die of hypothermia anyway. Now, a couple of things about how I'm going to play this game. Number 1, I'm going to move the camera so you can actually see the setup over here. This is something that I found in the videos by Catweasel from the People's Republic of Mancunia. He uses stands for business cards to put all of the cards in, which is really, really handy. I really like that. Makes it easy to get them. Easy to reach, no clutter. I'm going to play this game slightly differently. I'm going to customize it. Number 1, I've got all of the expansions that are out there, so it means that all of the asset decks and all of the decks in general are really, really bloated at this stage. There is plenty of stuff in here. So in order to be able to get plenty of things, what I'm going to do is I have split the asset deck into 4 sections. We've got weapons, we've got trinkets and minor items, then we have allies, and then we have tasks and services in 1. Why am I doing this? Well, this is something that was suggested on Board Game Geek, and I really like the idea because this makes it possible for you to get stuff even if you have need for something special like a weapon. You might be waiting ages, because in Eldritch Horror the problem is you have the reserve, and it's where all of the assets that are available for buying are placed. Now, I have played games where all of the assets were out of reach for me because they were all really expensive. I never was able to roll enough influence, and I also was looking for certain things, like I needed an ally, for example. I could never get one because even when I then managed to buy something and I drew more cards, they were not what I was looking for. Now in Arkham Horror, this is slightly different because obviously there are places where your chances of, let's say, meeting an ally or, you know, getting or going shopping for certain items is different and much easier. So this is one way of dealing with this. So what happens is I'm going to draw one card from each of these, one weapon, one item, it's a tome, the map of ley lines, one ally, expedition guide, and one service, it's police assistance. And so whenever I draw new cards from the reserve deck, I draw them from the respective stacks. Another thing that I noticed when I was watching Cat Weasel's playthroughs for Arkham Horror was something that I hadn't known of before, and those were personal stories and for investigators and relationship cards. I hadn't known that these existed, and I really, really like them. So I have looked at those online, and I've actually taken them and redesigned them for Eldritch Horror. Now the problem with that is, of course, now I need to see, do they actually work? Do they need to, or do they scale even? Because of course some things needed to be changed, especially when it says, well, if you do this, then you get help when you do, let's say, an evade check. Evade checks don't exist in Eldritch Horror, so those had to be changed, of course. And in others, I really had to see, you know, does it make sense from a game mechanic to replace something like advance or remove one Doom token from the Ancient One's Doom track? Could this be replaced by saying retract Doom by 1 or by 2, you know? So I have written new personal stories for them. The stories have remained the same, but some of the game effects have changed. So for example, for Lola Hayes, one of the personal story things she needs to do is she needs to gain an ally. Now, seeing as her influence is very high, gaining an ally is probably going to be quite easy. It's also probably quite easy to gain an ally in Arkham Horror. So maybe she has it easier to fulfill her personal story than other characters. I don't know. So I will have to check if this makes sense. So at the moment she has to gain one ally. It could be that I will have to introduce the change that she needs to gain 2 allies to fulfill her personal story, which would also make sense because as an actress she needs to find her audience. Without her audience she is nothing. So basically these are the changes that I've introduced, and I've also introduced relationship cards, which I will also show you. I took existing relationship cards and I modified them slightly. I believe I took all of them as far as I can remember. But again, I had to make changes to them in terms of what happens, what you can do. So for example, some of them might not work in this game because it says if you are on the same space, if you and your partner are on the same space, then do this and that. Now, being on the same space in Arkham is much simpler and happens much more often than being in the same space in this game, because it's a globe-trotting game, as we all know. So it could well be, again, that this may not really work. So I may have to modify this and say if you're in the same region, like if you're all in Europe, or if you're all in Africa, or if you're all in the Asia-Pacific region, or if you are all in the Americas, one could even say North and South America, because the two of them are quite far apart. So these are things that I will try out during this game. I really like the mechanics in general. That's why I wanted to adapt them. If the adaptation has worked is something that we will have to see. as we go along. So I am now going to set this up. I've also blinged my board, as they say. I have bought character trays, because one of the things that I really, really do not like about Arkham Horror and Eldritch Horror is the fact that there are a lot of problems with components flying around. So there is a company called eRaptor, and they make component trays or character trays for different games, and they also made one for Eldritch Horror, and this is what this looks like. Here you have the character sheet, and you can put your cards up here, for example. You can slide them in here at the sides. So basically here you need to loosen this a little bit. So this is very tight, so I have to work on this as well. But here you can place your tokens. So you put your clue tokens in here. You can put your shipping tokens in here. You can put your character modifiers, and here you put your stats. So this is actually a really nice way of making the game a little less messy, which I believe is important, at least for me, because I do want things to be neat, because otherwise you can end up really with a lot of issues and things flying around and components getting lost, or a card being forgotten when you break down the game after you've played. So yeah, I suppose for the OCD people among us, this is an important development. Other people will go, you did what? You just bought plastic trays to hold components for your game while you're gaming. I play chess. I don't understand what you're talking about. Yeah, so as you can see, I have been busy with gaming, although I haven't played anything at the moment or recently, but I have been preparing. Also, I will have to warn you, this will be coming in installments. I won't be able to play a whole game in one go, simply because I'm now doing my maths degree again. So a term has started, and I just have to also spend a lot of time on that, and generally, working and doing my studies. So this is going to take some time. I hope you will all bear with me. I will also try and change the way I do the videos. Rather than giving you one shot of the action, I will move the camera a little more often, which means that there will be breaks in the videos, which will also mean that it will take me a little bit longer to produce them, because I won't be able to just play them through. But I believe that this may be more entertaining and will also give you a better view of what's happening in the games. So I'll probably do the first turn tomorrow.